should I not be saying F you again
Right.
for a while?
Properly.
I got all my swear words out for the day.
And we got
For the day?
So,
You need to talk.
Okay, I gotta review some stuff.
Casey,
here pretty
would you
quick.
call that copper? Brass?
Yes,
Copper. It
it's
is copper.
copper. It's
It's-
the color is
It's
called
147 spear,
copper. Can you see it?
or
Yeah.
147 grain, 308
Yeah, it looks great.
copper cover, I think.
Yeah. Berries or Hornady?
What?
We could do, no, Barnes.
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 Oh, I know where that is. Isn't that
Yeah, you do.
Mona or something?
Mona, yeah.
Yes, we drive past that. I got it out for the hour, not the day. Sorry.
School teacher all the same.
That's right. Sometimes I have to think about what I say before I get mad at children. Sometimes Miss Casey needs a timeout.
Oh. We're going to show here soon. Let's see what CNN's saying on this.
My friend Billy just posted that her phone was stolen at a movie theater. She was going to the Dora Explorer movie with her kids. And her phone was stolen.
You should be able to track it.
Yeah. Huh? What?
Is the music going through?
Uh-huh.
I do have, John Lott talks about this. I'm gonna go over that.
We're not going to go into details. Multiple fatalities and several people that have been transported. El Paso Police Sergeant Enrico Carrillo saying that the scene near I-10 and Gateway West Boulevard is under control after this morning's attack. He did not release a possible motive, but promises more information would be released very soon. The Border Patrol, ATF, and Texas Department of Public Safety are also involved in this investigation.
Oh, Border Patrol. Border Patrol, illegal.
Should we be surprised?
She saw the man with a gun, a large rifle, wearing a black shirt and cargo pants. She said she would be very careful leaving the scene as panic shoppers ran out.
Hey babe, what's the ratio on 800,000 permits versus 2.5 million people?
It's like a 3 to 1.
Oh, that would be 800,000 to...
You mean 1 to 3?
Yeah, so we have 3.5 million people in Utah, but 1 million of those are under 18. We have about 800,000 permits, so let's see. So as opposed to California, where it's 1 permit for every 14,300 adults
Wait, where?
in California.
Oh.
So can you do that one for, can you do that same ratio? Can you do the math on that ratio for 800,000 permits, 2.5 million people? That's 1 permit for every.
1 to 3.
It's 1 to 3?
8
Okay.
times 3 is 24.
All right. And then do it, so it'd be 1 in 6 maybe, if we take out the non-residents. But yeah.
Eh, we'll count them.
One and outside of New York and California, it's 1 in 11 possessed permits.
A suicide, claiming that he shot himself in the head. This contradicts initial reports that 3 officers killed him about a minute of Ligon opening fire. Gilroy's police chief has cleared up the confusion, saying that the officers had shot Ligon several times, and that's when he fell.
Those service revolvers didn't work. He killed himself.
The report is still in the
Dang
process
it.
of being completed.
Not the revolver. So what time did this happen?
About noon our time. more for me.
I'm full of Armenian food.
Yeah, that's
jealous.
good.
Yeah. There was some American food in there too.
How can I split this?
Is your family doing a reunion, Doran? I don't think you can hear me.
There we go. How's that for split screen?
That's pretty impressive. Is your screen a touch screen? I can't
You
either.
want, let me show you here. Oh, you don't have a touch screen.
Hey, Doran, is your family doing a reunion? Is your family doing a reunion?
Not that I know of, but we should.
Because don't we usually go to like...
There isn't a really a
different-
reunion every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually quite.
Big?
We didn't have that many people at all.
No, there was like a handful of people at this one.
I'll be stopping at my parents on my way home, so I'll ask what the
Yeah, we went to a
what the
big one
word on
not
the
far
street
from your
is.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
far
it was
from your
weird.
house one time, and it was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one in South Jordan at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Riverside Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that was huge.
That was like the last time that Uncle Bob was doing well.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
It was
right.
right after that. It was right
Yeah.
after that he died.
Yeah.
Why do people stream video in an active shooter situation? You can't see squat. Your life is on the line.
Exactly. Who stops to say, "Oh,
Oh,
let me
I do want to
record
talk about the
this?"
cop. I want to talk about what I call cover fire.
Okay.
The cop who shot at the dog in Texas.
Not familiar with that.
I have some things
You do?
about this. Yeah.
I gotta be careful. Is my mic okay, Dorn?
5.9.
Doran can't hear because he's.
We'll probably
connected.
open up the phones too.
Hello?
We'll open up
Can
phones
you
too.
hear me? What?
Phone.
We'll open up the phones. 5 seconds. 3,
The phones.
2.
Yeah.
1.
I have only 5 words for you. From my cold, dead hands.
It's time for Gun Radio Utah. No apologies. A show dedicated to preserving and protecting your constitutional right to bear arms for your security and sport. Here's your host, well-known gun rights advocate and chairman of the Utah Shooting Sports Council, Clark Kaposian.
You got that look, Bill,
I
like
do.
you want to say something.
You know, he's coming in. I appreciate the intro and everything for security and for sport. Something tells me there's one other that's missing.
Hunting? Is it hunting, Bill?
Well, that would be
That'd be
security.
sport.
Hunting
That would
and
be
sport.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Personal protection.
Security. That's security, right? No?
Well,
All right,
it
hey.
could be a law
All
enforcement.
right. Well, you know,
Take,
I just
take your time. Think
I
about
said
it.
that.
we're going to fix that.
you know, for safety. Let me tell you, the ride over here today was an e-ticket ride. I rode with Casey in her car.
It's Uber
in her
next
little,
time, huh?
her little Mini Cooper S.
And I'll tell you, he was a little worried about all the bumps and
A little?
potholes and
No,
things.
I was worried.
He was like
I was worried that
freaking
you were
out.
exceeding the laws of physics. That's what I was.
Sure.
I was worried
Every
about.
time I take a tight turn, he has to hold on to like the car.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, and I have my seatbelt on. Anyway, welcome to Gun Radio Utah, where there are no apologies. Somebody asked me, why are there no apologies on Gun Radio Utah?
Why should there be?
Well, because it's personal responsibility. We expect personal responsibility, and we don't expect apologies.
Oh, okay.
So, and anyways, welcome. Bill Patterson is in the studio. Casey Jane here
I'm
in
here,
the studio.
and my seat is really, really high, by the way. I feel like above all of you.
Yeah.
By
You
the
are.
way.
Well, your seat is. Anyway, and Doran is here. Channel. Watch us live in studio. So we are obviously, I don't know if you've heard or not, but Bill's going to give us an update in just a minute on what's happening in Texas. So, yeah, we've got, wow, There's some stuff we're going to talk about Gilroy. We're going to talk about some of the I'm not going to say even lessons learned, because California doesn't seem to learn any lessons. And we're going to talk about some obvious some takeaways to the Gilroy shooting in Gilroy, California, which is the garlic capital of the nation. I know Gilroy well. We went through Gilroy a couple years ago.
Did, and it was the middle of the night, and I was kind of like dozing off while you were driving, and all of a sudden I was like, what is that smell? And it was just coming through the car. I mean, it's good and all, but it was just...
But you didn't.
You couldn't get rid of this.
So I do want to talk about some of the takeaways, and I think some of them will be appropriate to what we're going to talk about. So, Bill, what's the update? What's going on for those that don't know?
I'm watching a couple of news feeds here and been listening to them before the program started. They're not saying a lot.
Well, just fill people in that don't know anything.
Yeah. So for those that have not heard, there's been a massive shooting in El Paso, Texas, at the Walmart. And apparently this happened about noon our time, and there are multiple fatalities. One feed that I'm looking at is telling me 18 plus have been killed, and there's multiple people injured. Sounds like the person is about 21 years of age. They do have him in custody. And there are multiple agencies involved, from, border security all the way to Fed agents, ATF, and of course our law enforcement.
Why do you suppose border security would be there? Just because they happen to be law enforcement in the area, or?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
What if he's an illegal?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
No? So,
but yeah, this is pretty spooky.
So you'll stay on that.
Yeah, we'll just kind of watch this and give updates throughout the show.
Isn't Texas a pretty gun-friendly state?
It is.
Other people at the Walmart have a gun to fire back with?
Well, it's interesting.
Walmart.
Well, Walmart
I go to
is,
Walmart.
technically speaking, even though I have seen people open carrying in Walmart, they, from what I understand, Walmart's policy is not to, you're not supposed to bring a gun in. But, in fact, I have seen a Walmart in some areas where they actually have a sign posted.
Oh.
But I haven't seen it the ones here in the Salt Lake area. So, anyway, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have the policy. So,
right.
I don't know. I will tell you, we started talking about, the Gilroy shooting, in which 3 people were killed and more than a dozen injured, I believe. The first things that, and I'm sure we're going to find out information on this El Paso shooting, and it's going to be incorrect. It's going to be sometimes 180 degrees wrong from initial.
Yeah, we can't make initial assessments on this. I mean, every time someone makes a call, which is interesting because the Dems, especially the presidential candidates, are coming out of the woodworks on this thing. They don't even have enough information.
It's exactly right. But yet they will not. They won't have a problem with finding fault based on the gun policies. They won't go to the individual who was actually at fault. So I just kind of made a quick little list of some of the takeaways in the Gilroy one. First off, when the police chief, and this was the next day, they were asked, well, what kind of gun was used? Well, he didn't know what kind of a gun was used. How is a police chief of a city like Gilroy not know what kind of a gun was just used in the worst thing that's happened in your city in decades?
A day later, too.
Not
like
later,
an hour
and
later.
He didn't know. And then we heard that it was a SKS, which is a far, far away predecessor to the AK-47. Does not look the same, doesn't have a pistol grip, doesn't take the same magazines, does in fact take the same cartridge, 7.62x39, but we heard it was an SKS. And then we later found out it was an AKM. Technically it's an AKM, a semi-automatic version of a version of the AK. Oh. But yet they were all stuck on, oh no, I heard CNN say, oh no, it wasn't an AK, it was a Wasser. Which is a version of an AK. It's a Romanian version of the I think it's Romanian. And it's the same thing. It's for all intents and purposes, it's an AKM, an AK-47. But they didn't even get that right. Then I remember, I think it was either CNN or MSNBC that were talking, thank you, Brett, that were talking and said they had an expert. They had an expert on, one of the MSNBC experts. And he was... paying quite a bit of credit to the Gilroy Police Department, who they said took the shooter down. We later found out that he actually killed himself. So again, yet another misinformation there. But he said, yes, the Gilroy Police Department engaged this man who had an automatic rifle with their service revolvers. And I looked at the screen to see if he was going to correct himself.
And he's an
and he just didn't correct himself. And I said to myself, Gilroy Police are using revolvers? I don't think so. Anyway. So,
you don't know.
So they were actually talking about the number of shooters. I remember they were supposedly looking for 2 shooters in Gilroy. And then there was how he received the gun. We first heard that he received the gun by mail via the internet.
Wow, you can do that?
No.
Amazon? Is Amazon like free Prime delivery?
No, Casey Jane.
Oh.
No. You can, but to put it direct, you can, in fact, I think the confusion comes from, that's what they want to believe. But, yeah, you can buy a gun over the internet, but you can't pick it up over the internet. You can't have it delivered to your door.
Dang it.
So what he did was, apparently this person was a Nevada resident, but he was living in California. But he had Nevada ID. So he bought a gun on the internet, had it shipped to a gun store, went to Nevada, filled out the proper paperwork, and showed, the only way he could have done that through an FFL is to show a Nevada driver's license. Right. And then he had the background check run. So, because you can't go as a Californian. In fact, somebody was in my class just this last week, armored truck driving class. And they had just come from California, and they wanted to go buy a gun for their duty weapon and literally not use the company's service revolvers. Yes. And so we're going to go like this a little more. And they said, can I go? I says, you know what? I says, technically it is legal to do if you show your ID and you show your residency and you prove residency. I says, but if you go to an FFL and you plop down a California driver's license, they're not going to do it. They have a choice as to whether or not, but they're not going to do it because they are responsible for both. That sale has to comply with the laws in the state of Utah and the state of California.
I didn't know that.
Well, if you produce that, yeah. So he could have, the person could buy the gun and have it shipped to a gun store in California, to where he doesn't live anymore. But I just said, go get yourself a Utah driver's license and just eliminate all this garbage. What are you doing with a California
Nobody wants a
license?
California license.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. So anyway, that's how he legally purchased the gun. But now bringing it into California with his magazine
story,
and that was illegal. So yeah, and then we heard that he was a far right wing type person and so on and so forth. Well, now the FBI said that's not true. We don't know that he was far right, far left, or anything. We have no indication whatsoever about that. So I'm going to assume because
you know what they
sad
say
experience,
about assuming.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us what they say about assuming? No. You know what?
Can
Casey,
I? Brad, can I?
Every time I look at Casey's new hair color,
you
if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Casey's new hair color.
Yeah.
It's from Barnes Bullet's color.
Yeah.
She got it off the Barnes Bullet
our
hair
sponsor,
color.
Barnes Bullet,
Yeah.
for Casey's hair.
Exactly. You're welcome.
It's very copper colored. Barnes makes some fantastic solid copper.
And you love it.
Next week, Hello Kitty 380s.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, please.
So we're gonna do that. Okay, we are out of time in this segment. Thanks, Brad, for not getting
Cutting us off.
But when you said 4 minutes, I put the timer on, and so we're just barely over that. So anyway, all right. When we come back, we have lots more to talk about on Gun Radio Utah. Stay tuned.
What if I told?
I like it. It's actually
I put
too.
the timer on for 4 minutes, but
I
you
told
gave me
him
the 1 minute mark
I
at
got
2
it
minutes.
done on Friday.
So that's okay.
What if you did?
Okay, no worries.
Kind
No
of
worries.
flip it forward. Kind of like a Donald Trump look.
Ooh. How does
It's
he
kind of that
kinda
color.
Bill, have you got
flips up,
anything?
doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it's got.
Have you got
Yeah.
about hunting, anything like that? Have you got anything?
Couple of weeks till the bow hunt starts.
I got this one.
Oh, okay.
I can take a few minutes.
Secret Service story, and I got a TSA story.
Yeah, we'll have to get some gel and like flip it up and kind of like flowy, like poofy.
That'd be awesome.
Trump hair.
I just noticed something.
What?
Watch when the CNN feed comes up, and then the Fox News feed comes up.
Mm-hmm.
This is the exact same picture as CNN.
Really?
Glenn Partial says, more the color of 90% gold, 8% copper, and 2% silver.
Ooh, I like it. That
A rich
sounds
alloy.
good.
And we have a new person commenting on the YouTube feed, Berto Norman.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Berto. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome.
Anybody else chime in the chat?
Oh, we got 20
Say hi.
seconds. Okay, Bill, I'm going to go. Casey, do you want me to go to you?
Whatever.
All right, I'll go to you. Be prepared for questions.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to go into something really quick.
I'm ready whenever.
Here's my other paper.
I could tell you, but people are listening. I could tell you where your paper was.
We're not just gonna let you walk out of here. Who's we, sucker? Smith, Wesson, and me.
Gun Radio Utah is back. Talk Radio 105.9, KNRS. Here's your host, Clark Kaposian.
Bill, did you see the 9mm gatling gun by Tippmann Arms?
I did.
Oh, yeah, I want one.
Tippmann Armory.
I want one.
Yeah,
I
and
want
I'm
one.
like going, I thought they did paintball.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's kind of
Christmas
cool.
is coming.
You'll get nothing in Lubbock.
Oh,
It's kind of
come on.
small, compact.
It is. Well, I mean, it's probably got what looks
concealable.
like 9-10-inch barrels.
Yeah.
And what would you say? It had 6-8 barrels on
Yeah.
it. Yeah. But so I was there talking to a guy at the gun store yesterday, and I said, I gotta have one of these things. You know, I said, but its rate of fire, as they were using Glock magazines, 30-round Glock mags, and he was just going, bop, 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 you know. Anyway, that was about the cadence, I would say. Anyway,
That was pretty good. Yeah,
that
I
was
like
pretty
that.
good.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I said, but I want it to be, but I kind of want it to be faster. Now, it's not NFA, so it's not a machine gun.
Right.
And those Gatling guns you can have, I mean, just kind of essentially over the counter. And it's on little wheels. It's on little pneumatic tires.
I know, it's a little
tires.
cart.
and he says, well, all you have to do is just, you can change the gears in the thing, just like gears on a bicycle, and you can make it go faster. And I'm thinking, I can get going pretty fast on a bike.
Yeah.
But now he said, but what if you attached a drill to it?
That's what I was just thinking.
I said,
Are you serious?
I said,
Yeah,
now,
let's
but
do the
let me
cordless drill to
dissuade
it.
you. Let me dissuade you from that, because then the ATF will come knocking on your door.
Really?
Oh, really?
All of them will be.
Is it because the
They will
drills
all
up?
be there, because that then turns it into a machine gun.
Really?
Because you're using a
Is it because
device.
of the pistol grip on the drill, or what?
No. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Looks like a
so
gun.
don't do that.
Feels like
You
a gun.
cannot do that.
But it just drills.
In fact, there was some people that came up with a glove that had on the finger of the glove, it had a little reciprocating wheel or whatever, and you could shoot your gun like that. And the ATF said, no,
Oh, wow.
no, that doesn't work. So before you go out and buy your cordless little drill and attach it to your 9mm, be careful, because all of the ATF will be at your house, and that won't be that will not be. It will not be a good day
look
for
fun,
you.
though. I mean, I could see myself hooking that up to the 4-wheeler and just. Right
But
up
see
on
now,
Driving up the
Bill,
trail.
you have the big 10mm, and so you're waiting for Tippmann to
Yeah,
come
I'll
out with a
wait for
10mm
10mm.
Gatling gun.
Yeah, that'd be expensive.
Make your own.
That would be expensive.
That'd be expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, speaking of cover fire, that's
Really?
basically what
That
that
was
is.
kind of a.
Yeah, that's your segue. Well, that's what you do with a Gatling gun, I guess, you know.
Yep.
Gatling gun, you're not shooting at super long distances for accuracy with a Gatling gun. Anyway, you gattle. You just basically gattle about.
What?
Anyway.
Okay.
So,
never mind.
did you hear about the law enforcement officer in Texas who was investigating a woman sleeping somewhat peaceably? She was sleeping on some grass in a park, or some lawn or grass somewhere. It wasn't anybody's house, and there was a dog nearby. So he goes up to investigate and calls to the woman. Well, the dog wakes up and starts barking and running towards him. Now, this was not a big dog. I saw the video on the cam. Well, cop pulls out his gun, blam, 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 tries to shoot the dog as he's running, and the dog is running, and everyone's running.
Oh, jeez.
Misses the dog. The dog takes off because gunfire. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Dog's like, I'm out of here. Okay. Woman says, I've been hit.
Oh, no.
He shot and killed the woman with his errant shots.
Oh, wow.
So the only reason I bring this up is I talk about, I had to score a bunch of targets yesterday. And we had two different groups of people, and it's not their choice that one has an easier scoring than the other, but I had armored truck drivers, and then I had bail enforcement agents. And so we're actually training them in the same shooting thing, but they had a different shooting test in the range at the same time. The bail agents have to go out to 25 yards, and they have to do malfunctions, and they have to get 6 holes in the target in 6 seconds, and so on and so forth, with a malfunction and that kind of thing. So theirs was a lot harder. And if you miss on the B-27 style target, that silhouette target, and it goes off of the paper, that's pretty much it for you.
Wow.
You get to try again with a whole new.
That's for bail enforcement.
That's for bail agents. And it's not the same for armored truck drivers. Theirs is a much more generous scoring area, so to speak, and there's no malfunction drills and that kind of stuff in it. Anyway, so I call those missed shots, and now this is going to seem kind of harsh, but it's supposed to seem kind of harsh. I call the missed shots a dead baby.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know what? You are responsible
for that
shot. If it didn't go into your target, or you don't know where your backdrop is, that very well could be. Well, in this case, it was a dead lady. And so my problem with this is that we ascribe so much professionalism, expertise, and that type of things to human beings.
Right.
But what we have here in Texas, this is yet just another example of what I call cover fire in an urban environment. You do not engage in cover fire in an urban environment. You need to know where your first shot, every shot in between, and your last shot is going, and that it's going to be okay. And if you can't do that, you don't shoot. I remember the experience in New York City.
So I was just going to bring that up.
City?
Yeah, New York.
6 people got shot
2
6 to 8 blocks, 6 and 8 blocks away, actually. And yes, they got the bad guy, but they also got 6 or 8 innocent people.
And what did they call that?
I call
Oopsies.
Well, you know what I call it? I call it this. I say getting shot by the police is the price we pay to be protected by the police.
Yeah.
So it's not that good, but could be shot by anybody. But you don't hear that so much with civilian engagements, because let me tell you, if there were civilian engagements, concealed carry permit was protecting, folks. Do you think the news would carry that if they shot some innocent folks?
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by cover fire?
Cover fire.
Can you
Basically,
define it?
Yeah. Basically, it's you're shooting bullets down in the direction of the bad guys, in the general direction of the bad guys, to keep their head down or to keep them going, while you go to cover, or you're doing it while you're reloading or something.
So you're just like kind of willy-nillying it.
Yeah, it's generally speaking, it's to keep people's heads down.
Yeah.
But it was to keep the dog away. But you got to know, cover fire is great in a military engagement.
I was
That
gonna
is
say battle.
fantastic, and that is what
war.
that's what full autos are designed for.
Yeah.
But we're not engaging in military type stuff here. And when you engage in cover fire anywhere, let alone in a city environment, you're going to have to figure that those rounds keep going.
Yeah.
So
do we know the consequence of this
well,
guy?
we know we know that he was a rookie. He'd been on the job for about a month.
Oh, sad.
And I got to tell you, for as much training as they do, I think they really ought to have a little course. And we do not engage in cover fire. Casey, what do you have? We got about 2 minutes.
Hey, speaking of New York, apparently the governor in New York,
Cuomo,
signed. Cuomo.
Doesn't he run for president?
Oh, well, I'm not voting for him.
Why?
He signed a law that said that they will not arm teachers, and they will not allow teachers to bring. Hold your ponies. I'm talking. He will not arm teachers, and he will not allow teachers to bring guns onto school campus.
The hell you say?
So yes, I am with you on we don't arm teachers. We just don't disarm them. So we allow them, if they choose to to carry, we should allow them to do so. But it's interesting that it's in New York, because a few weeks ago when we had the ETGAR 36 group, I was talking to a young gal in high school who lived in Manhattan, like downtown Manhattan area, so probably super wealthy.
They call it maintenance Hatton now.
Yeah. But she could not wrap her mind around me being a teacher wanting to have a gun on me in school settings. And she was so kind of distraught, and she really forcefully said, you bringing a gun into your classroom with your students in there is just adding more guns into the classroom, and that's not going to solve the problem. And I said, well, what do we do? And she goes, we take all guns away. And I'm like, how do you do that?
That sounds logical.
How do you do that?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
we should do that tomorrow.
You know, it kind of makes sense that New York is thinking like, oh, teachers shouldn't have
Out of
guns.
sight,
Would you
out
say
of
this is
mind.
more of an emotional argument?
I very much believe it is emotional for sure, and because whenever kids are involved, we can't think guns and kids and all that.
So I have this question: is when she says they're just bringing more guns into the engagement?
Yeah.
What happens when gunfire does ring out from a shooter inside a school? Who do they call? Do they call the firemen? Do they, because the firemen do show up, do they call
Right.
They call police, right? Why do they call the police? Because they always know that they're going to show up with their guns.
Well, and
with all their guns.
Yeah, and this article.
Is that not adding more guns to the situation?
Right, and this article said, while law enforcement and school resource officers are allowed to carry, teachers are not.
All
so
right,
I kind of feel like picked on right now.
When we come back, that was another one of the takeaways from Gilroy. Because there was law enforcement there, and they engaged in 1 minute. How much time do we have? Are we over time right now? We are? Okay, all right. So they engaged in 1 minute, and all I'll say is this, if it takes a minute for law enforcement to engage, and you're okay with that because it was in such a short amount of time, let me shoot at you for 60 seconds and see what that feels like.
Exactly.
Or would it have been better? Now, and when we come back, we'll tell you how many permit holders. They do have permit holders in California, concealed carry permit holders. How many of them were there in Gilroy?
That was good.
That was perfect timing.
Okay. What's that? That was perfect little ending thing there. That's what you call a hard break. So yeah, we'll go into that. We'll open the phones up, and then Bill, did you have something? You're going to give us an update?
We have to give a shout out to
Joan.
the Aposhians.
Jones, the Aposhians,
and
the fuzzy
whole,
Armenians.
Yeah, the whole fuzzy Armenians.
Sorry, I forgot to turn off.
No, that was perfect.
No, that's perfect. That was perfect.
like
That's
a great
fine.
cutoff.
Right, don't worry. That was perfect.
You nailed it. You should take credit for that one.
You should say. You should have come in here and said, "Do you see how perfect I did that?"
Exactly.
It'll be interesting right now is to go to the flight tracker app and see how many helicopters are flying around that area in El Paso.
Well, the sergeant, El Paso Police Department sergeant's speaking now. Everything's still on lockdown, and they're saying they got one detained. We don't have a motive. Of course you don't.
And YouTubers, if you haven't already, click subscribe.
Yeah, hit subscribe.
Yeah,
it's a little button,
subscribe to
usually
us.
on the left side, right? Something like that. And
We're-
hit like. There's a thumbs up, and there's another thumbs thing, but
There's
don't
a
worry
whole-
about the other thing. There's a thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up button.
And there's a bell
A bell?
that you can click to be notified anytime a new video is uploaded.
Oh, hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell often.
Ding.
So I only have a couple minutes because then I have to get back in there. But going off what you guys were talking about, my thought is, because I talked to one of my friends just the other week, and he's on the side of like, oh, just get rid of all firearms and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I confronted him, I was like, okay, but what about the criminals? And like, they're going to get a gun regardless.
Exactly.
And so then, well, I had to just tell him, like, you know, if you can't decide if you don't want teachers having it, then find another solution. Obviously, there has to be someone to protect the kids. And so if it's not the teachers, then what about if they came up with a system where they can have security guards that are actually patrolling?
Yeah,
We're
retired
going to
vets
talk
and
about
stuff.
what
Yeah, exactly.
the Interpol Secretary General for 15 years, what he noted on security, and this is the guy from the Interpol. So, and not the interwebs, but the Interpol.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to talk about that. What he said, and he said this a number of years ago too. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about. Well, we talked about cover fire. We talked about 9mm gatling gun. And then Casey, I'm going to ask you about. Well, you know, maybe you could pipe in when we say they caught him. Wouldn't it be better if he killed himself or shot him or something like that?
Why do we want him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why bother?
Why bother? So. And then there was something else about that. Yeah, okay.
Oh, he was taken in custody without incident.
What does that mean?
Without further incident, I guess.
They did not fire They did not fire on him.
Oh, jeez.
Really? So that means he probably showed up with his hands
He
up.
dropped his weapon without incident.
Yeah, dropped his weapon, put his hands up, and they didn't shoot
Means
him.
there was probably little to minimal force when they took the person in custody. He's a wuss.
That's what I was gonna say.
What's that?
Except a not so nice word.
You're done with bad words.
Bill's taking away my ability to say bad words.
You guys have a swear jar at your house?
I would go broke.
Just drop that Visa card in there.
Exactly. Have all my monies.
Bill,
Constitutional right to bear arms. It's Gun Radio Utah on Talk Radio 1059 KNRS. Here's your host, Clark Kaposian.
I'm getting all this Van Halen I can get.
You're just not going to talk.
Exactly. Welcome back to Gun Radio Utah. Bill Pedersen, we got the team here in studio. Clark sitting in the captain's chair, Casey to my left, Doran to my right, and YouTubers on the YouTube. If you want to check us out live, go to youtube.com and type in Utah Shooting Sports Council. And
get your face out of there. Nobody wants to see that.
Live person of Clark there. But welcome back. We've got a lot of things to talk about today, and we've been covering the El Paso story, and I've just been picking up on some additional information. They do have the perpetrator in custody, and apparently no shots were fired at the perpetrator. He dropped his weapon immediately, according to the local sergeant there in El Paso, and I'm sure he's got some splaining to do. We hate to make any judgments other than we call this guy an idiot, a jerk, someone that does not respect life. And, it's interesting. I'm sure we'll get media calls. Clark will, especially getting our take on this. And
I just pulled up something. They have a picture of the sign outside Walmart. It is a Texas authorized no gun sign called it's called their section 30.06, their 30-06 sign. That's actually technically, I know it's kind of weird, but they've had it for years and years, and it has to be in certain size and certain wording and that. And that Walmart did have a sign engaging their right to ban guns inside the store.
Yeah,
is that a law?
That's a law in Texas that if they post a sign,
then
unlike here, right?
Well, unlike here, we only have that kind of a sign type thing for churches and homes.
Right.
But but private businesses don't have that ability.
Right. Well, it's interesting that it took place in a Walmart. We've had some local incidences here at Walmarts, and I think they're targets of opportunity in my mind. They did ask the question: was there any armed Walmart personnel in the security in the
Ooh.
store, and they just came back and said, "No, we're not aware of any." That's
Well,
doesn't surprise me that there isn't. So.
John Lott did a piece that appeared in the Washington Times just a little bit ago, and he made 3 points, and he said shootings keep occurring in places where civilians are banned from having guns. 2, almost any modern firearm can be used to inflict mass casualties. And 3, armed citizens prevent many attacks from becoming mass public shootings. So what the media doesn't report on is an engagement of, say, one guy that shoots somebody and is about to shoot somebody else, and a armed citizen steps in and stops it. So it's not a mass public shooting at that point, and it doesn't garner the media's attention. But what it did is it potentially stopped what very likely could have been yet another one. And so we have, our focus is now in El Paso. Last week it was in Gilroy, and yet another. We had, a dozen or more injured and 3 killed in yet another place where people weren't allowed to be armed. And so, even to the point they weren't allowed to be armed. So then we expect to be protected. The people inside the disarmed area expect to be protected, and quite well. So they had bag searches, they had metal detectors, but apparently the bag searches, we heard from some people, it was just basically like they do it at the Delta Center. So they look inside, don't see anything, and so on and so forth. But this guy, they didn't obviously have the perimeter secured. So it wasn't.
He just walked right
in a sense, it wasn't a gun-free zone.
No.
Mm-hmm. They had hoped to make it a gun-free zone for everybody that obeys the laws. And then we've got, the shooters arrived. The law enforcement arrived in 1 minute. That's
pretty fast.
That is. That's exceedingly fast.
That's super fast.
And yet 12 people were injured and 3 were killed.
Yeah.
And every one of those injured people could have been killed, and that's in just 60 seconds. So then they said, you're not going to get. Even if you had an armed populace, you're not going to get any better than a minute. Really?
Really?
I was training people to engage on a buzzer, and they were engaging in 1.5 seconds on average. In fact, they have to put a hole in the target in 2 seconds.
Right.
So are you telling me that 60 seconds is better than 2 seconds? No, of course not. So the Interpol, Ron Noble, an Interpol secretary for the last 15 years. Is that 5? Then okay, thanks. The Interpol secretary for 15 years noted there's 2 ways to protect people from mass shootings. And this is not an American, by the way. One is to say we want an armed citizenry, and you can see the reason for that. He says another is to say that enclaves, areas, gatherings should be so secure that in order to get into the soft target, you're going to have to pass through extraordinary security. Yeah. So you either have one or the other. I don't think we are willing to make every outdoor gathering, every indoor gathering as secure as the United States Capitol building. Yeah. The United States Capitol building, they have snipers up on the roofs. They have, every single public entrance. And guess what? Congressmen and women can have guns in their offices.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So not only are they secure walking into their building, they get to be secure while staying in their building.
Oh, hey, one other little point to point out. There is... it's rather hard to get a concealed carry permit in California. Now, in some areas, it's rather hard. Some areas, it's relatively easy, actually. Santa Clara County has issued 113 concealed firearm permits. That's the county that Gilroy is in. 113. So that's 1 permit for every 14,300 adults.
You gotta wonder who got those.
Well, exactly.
I'm serious.
Yeah. What is so different about those 113 people as opposed to the other 14,187? Yeah, exactly.
So what are we talking in Utah?
So in Utah, we've got, 3.5 million people. 1 million of those are under 18, so 2.5 million eligible, and we have about 800,000 permits.
Wow.
So
1 to 3.
Even if 1 to 3, if you take out that the majority of those are non-resident, it's 1 in 6. It's 1 in 7.
Wow.
At best. So, so as opposed to 1 in 14,300.
Wow.
So, anyway. All right.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I want to wrap back around to this shooting in El Paso. The the shooter survived.
Apparently, yeah. Bill, you said he survived.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he just like
In fact, they just
gave up,
announced
like,
his name. He's a 21-year-old Patrick. I'm gonna just say Patrick.
Okay.
I'm not
we
gonna-
don't even care. No. Why do we
Say it.
care that
Just
he
say it.
survived? Why are we fighting so we can save his life so he can go sit in jail and cost taxpayer dollars to live comfortably for the next 20 years and
As opposed to
watch cable?
what? As opposed to what?
As opposed to getting shot and dying.
So, and no,
Like-
and I understand.
Like, I mean,
I get that.
I'm really angry that he just like gave up and was like, "Oh, just kidding," and okay, handcuff me. And he probably won't talk. I mean, I'll be surprised if he really comes out and says why he did what he did or what information we get out of it.
Bill, what's
I'll be
your
surprised. I don't know.
Bill, what's your thought? Should the police always kill the shooter? Should we hope that he kills himself?
Well, you can't.
Or do we want them to be apprehended?
Oh, you're looking him up on Facebook?
You never know.
That's true.
So I just remember a Utah Highway Patrol gentleman. In fact, I know him. He's retired now. And there was a shooting at Christmas up Smith Morehouse at a cabin where some people took a family hostage, killed the grandmother,
sad.
maybe I think even killed the mother too, and took the girls and took off and sped off. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That officer got the car pulled over. Guy jumps out of his car and, he's full drawn and he complied. And, you just got to wonder. He's like, okay, what thing can he do where that officer can then legally take that guy down?
Yeah, at that point, he was in compliance, and that's not
compliance, and
yeah.
you
And
just
so,
can't.
and I think what runs through our mind is this: is that if the person, it's like McKinsey, Luke, or Ms. McCluskey.
Yeah.
He killed himself.
Yeah.
And then there was a bunch of lawsuits and stuff like this, and we really wanted to punish him, but he's not there to punish.
True.
And so we'll go to the next person down, We'll blame the gun, we'll blame the law enforcement, we'll blame all sorts of stuff. And where, in fact, law enforcement may, in fact, have had some culpability in that. But no matter how much we blame anybody else or extract punishment to them, it won't bring her back, and we can't punish the person anymore. But I think that, there's that revenge type of mentality. Then there's also, why do we kill the bat? Well, it's a deterrent to other, would-be shooters.
Right.
And then it also prevents them from ever doing it again. No matter what. If they're in jail, there's still technically that slim chance that they could do it again. And
and they're enjoying 3 meals a day. They're enjoying cable. They're enjoying a free education.
Yeah.
And never mind.
All right, when we come back, we've got a hard break coming up. When we come back on Gun Radio Utah, more to talk about. And we'll take your calls at 888-570-8010, 888-570-8010. Rick.
I'm sure they pulled him, if he was on there, they pulled him off quick. But I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
But I always look, because it's like, hey, I
I know,
want to check and
I was
see
like,
this
oh.
idiot.
I do the same thing, even for local people.
Yeah, local people. It's like, people are stupid enough.
But sometimes people's names are so, like if I did anything and they do a Google search, I will be the only name that comes, the only person with that name.
We have to
With a
do
history.
a shout out to the Aposhians.
Yeah, let's do that.
Like when we come back.
I am still so full.
Of it. Are we going to Famous Footwear?
Yeah.
We can't go to West Valley because that's not Cammy's store.
Okay.
We could do Sugar House or
Yes,
something.
that's supposed to showing up or anything?
No.
No.
Is there somebody outside?
Yeah, well, no, they're walking here. They're looking for a wing, but I don't know.
Wayne?
Wayne. So.
Why are they escorted?
No,
Do they have a
so
key?
obviously he got a key to get in, so.
Oh, he did? Oh, okay. All right.
I'm just assuming that he's looking for another employee or something, I'm not sure.
But you don't think he's sketchy?
No.
Okay.
That's what we want to know.
We've had incidents.
Yeah.
You're not a Republican, and nor are you a conservative. Is that accurate?
That would be an understatement.
And indeed, you're the former editor-in-chief.
Exactly. Sometimes I don't want to get my fingers dirty, so I just kind of tilt the bag.
We got about 2 minutes. Bill, what if, and so I was gonna do a shout out to the reunion.
Jones.
That's fun.
And to Dave Arslanian for doing Dave and Pam.
I ran into a high school
What's
buddy at Sportsman's right before I came here. He was so excited to see me. I was way excited to see him.
What's this now?
No, a buddy of mine. He lives in
we
California.
gotta do Sportsman's
We
Warehouse.
gotta do Sportsman's Warehouse.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I'll do it coming in.
Yeah, do it coming
Okay.
in. Do it coming in.
Oopsies. We haven't had a person for so long.
Holy cow.
What?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what?
That ain't good.
Uh-oh,
What's
what?
wrong? What's wrong?
Website's down.
Uh-oh.
Whose is?
Sportsman's Gunsmith.
Uh-oh.
Got about a minute 13. Mine's up. I show it up on mine.
Really?
Yeah, this one right here.
Yeah, okay. Let me try it again.
You want to just take my laptop?
No.
Your computer's broken.
Got 48
Oh, I
seconds.
got it now.
Okay. All right, you've got the copy, I imagine.
And then we gotta talk about a potion.
Okay, do you want to? Do you want to bring it up and then I'll chime in?
Yeah, in fact, I even asked the guys, I go, tell me about your gunsmithing. They knew the answer.
Oh, good.
So,
Which Sportsman's?
on 72.
My dad works
I'm going
for them
hiking in the mountains. I'm going up to, Google this,
now. Okay.
Red Castle, Uintas.
Red Castle, Uintas.
And pull up the images. And I will be there tomorrow.
Who are you going with?
A bunch of guys that we like to go backpacking.
Wow.
Is that incredible?
Holy
where's it
cow,
next
look
to?
where he's going.
What's it next to? Oh, we're on.
Gun Radio Utah with Clark Aposhin on Talk Radio 105.9 KNRS. Listen and you'll know.
And welcome back to Gun Radio Utah. Glad to have you here with us on this gorgeous Saturday hot afternoon. And I'll tell you this, if you get the opportunity and you'd like to get some more information, or let's say you want some custom gun work done on your firearm. Maybe it's a pistol, maybe it's a rifle, maybe you got some family heirloom that just kind of needs some polishing up and just a little TLC taking care of it. Go check out Sportsman's Warehouse Gunsmith Services. They have just about any and every service that you can imagine, whether you want to do some custom grip work on let's say a pistol, or you want some bluing work done on a nice revolver or an old rifle that you've got.
Do they do Cerakoting?
They do Cerakoting as well.
Ooh.
Check them out. You can actually go to sportsmanswarehouse.com and then just click on the gunsmith tab, or you can visit any Sportsman's Warehouse, the many 90 plus of them. 95 here in the U.S. continental, well, I won't say continental U.S., but in the United States. And they can get you some more information, or you can give them a call at 1-800-761-1252, 1-800-761-1252. They are located at 1630 South, 5070 West, Suite 200 here in Salt Lake City. And take your firearm in there, and they'll help you out and tell them you heard about them on Gun Radio Utah.
And it's true that, okay, thank you, Brad. It's true that you can actually take your firearm into any of the locations, and they'll
ship it,
automatically take care of it and get it to the gunsmith, which is based in Salt Lake.
Keep in mind, if you do ship your gun from a Sportsman's Warehouse, you have to pick it back up at that Sportsman's Warehouse.
Which is nice.
So if you're in town, it's very convenient. But if you're in town, you want to go see the gunsmiths themselves in person and really kind of talk out what you want done, you've got that opportunity as well. You can just go knock on the door, or actually don't even knock on the door, just walk right on in.
Knock on the door. Casey.
Hey, speaking of beautiful day today, Clark and I are full of Armenian food.
Do you remember
any
of
of
the
the
names?
I want to give a shout out to all my fuzzy Armenian cousins.
Fuzzy.
Especially
we had the Apochian reunion.
Especially Joan. Hi, Joan. We know you listen every week, so what's up? And we wanted to say thank you to the ones who put it on. Dave and Pat Arslanian. If you recognize that name, it's because his dad, Sark Arslanian, was a awesome football coach. Yeah.
Awesome
so that's Clark's uncle, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we just want to give a shout out to all the amazing Apochians and everyone else related to us whose name is an Apochian.
I've got a shout out. I'm not good at this, but I'm going to give a shout out to TSA.
Oh.
You know how I feel about TSA, but I'm going to give them a shout out.
Okay.
All of our TSA listeners, keep up the good work. And especially if you're from the Baltimore, Washington airport area.
Yeah.
Guess what they found again?
What did they find?
Again. Not just the first time.
It's a missile.
A
Isn't it
rocket
a missile?
launcher.
A rocket launcher.
Rocket
A rocket launcher. I know what you meant.
Go
You meant.
figure
That's
it
what I
out.
meant. Yeah.
They found, was it intact? Was it just the shell, the body, or? That's interesting. Do you remember any of the food we ate today, Casey?
Meat pies. You had a meat pie.
Okay, so lahmacun.
Lahmacun.
Okay.
The yummy tomato and
Payas.
cucumber.
That's payas.
Yeah.
And then we had kufta, furnisha, sarma.
Yeah,
So,
all
yeah.
those.
Yeah, we had
and
all
some
that.
American.
Coca.
Yeah.
Doran's
Coca.
dying over here. He's so jealous.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
Poor Doran. Wah, wah.
You have to wait till that reunion comes up, Doran. Yeah. So so that was a fun time had
It was
by all.
fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the
the
Armenians
invite.
as a people, the Armenians as a people are generally type gun friendly people. You know, there's a big, huge infestation of Armenians in Fresno, California.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a huge. I mean, they've been around since the early 1900s and have been kind of conglomerate there in Fresno, also Glendale, but most of Fresno. And oddly enough, Fresno, California, that county. Has the highest rate of concealed weapon permits in California.
I was going to say, why
be
would
darned.
you want to live in Fresno? But that makes sense.
But
I'll
that
allow
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
So, Brad, I don't know when 5720 is because I don't have the clock, but we've got about, I think, roughly 2 minutes then. Okay. So if you called right now on 888-570-8010, you might be able to get in. So, Bill, what's your takeaway on Walmart and the shooting there? What do you think?
I'm just going to follow my oldest daughter's advice and just stay out of Walmart. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's a sketchy store, but there's interesting things.
It attracts all kinds.
Yeah, if you want to see a great show, go to Walmart.
You see, you went there, huh?
Yeah.
There is a website for people of Walmart.
Yeah,
I mean, there is.
Walmartians. Is that what they call them? Hey, did you hear about the Secret Service issue?
Ooh, no.
Big. They're changing from SIGs.
What are they going to?
Glock.
They're going to Glock. I did actually hear that. They're going with the Gen 5, right?
Gen 5, yeah. MOS G19.
So the MOS are going to have that sight on there.
Yep. Which is actually kind of cool.
It is actually. In fact, I may have
for a couple of years now, I
have
think.
the Sportsman's Warehouse gunsmiths actually retool the top of some of mine.
Yeah.
And carry that because a lot of times you get this sight. It's an optic. How would you describe it? It's a single lens optic type thing, but it works still in your holster. It works in your holster though. You don't have to get a different holster because it sits up there just a little bit forward of the rear sight, so you don't have to get a whole new holster even though you have an optic on your gun.
Yeah.
Which has been a big drawback.
I just worry about dropping it, or not dropping it, but just messing up the optic.
Well, yeah, because it's got to be combat ready, tactical combat ready.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that was pretty cool. Secret Service let out a secret.
So does that mean lots of money to Glock?
Oh, yeah.
Lots of kudos. They get to put that in their advertising too.
Exactly.
Gaston does that.
So we'll see a lot of Secret Service. Maybe we'll see Trump at the Glock Gala. Gala, yeah.
I trained some Secret Service people actually in the use of the AR-10.
Oh, really?
The AR-10. Well, a long time ago. And the AR-10 is safer than the AR-15. It's 5 ARs. It's 5 ARs smaller than the AR-15,
but not as good as the AR-20.
Oh no! All right, thanks for listening, folks. Be careful out there. If you go shooting today, clean up after yourself.
Since I'm not working anymore, I get to come to SHOT Show.
What do you mean you're not working anymore?
Well, she's not She's just doing her
You're
dissertation.
getting a maid,
She's just doing her
too?
dissertation. Actually, we are going to get
My
a maid.
daughter has a maid.
What?
Are you serious?
Becky! Becky!
That's for Becky.
Yeah, in an 800 foot, an apartment that's about as big as these 2 rooms.
All right. Well, you guys, Bill, there's a room just off of the kitchen.
Oh yeah, just off the kitchen.